What if faith is not a choice? What if the very essence of worship is hardwired into our DNA? This is the provocative question posed by the theory of the worship gene. It suggests that our tendency towards spirituality, our yearning for something greater than ourselves, is not a product of culture or upbringing, but an intrinsic part of our biological makeup. Imagine a world where belief is not a matter of free will, but a predetermined aspect of our genetic code. This concept, as unsettling as it might seem, has captured the imaginations of conspiracy theorists and scientists alike. Could there be a gene passed down through millennia that predisposes us to religious belief? The implications of such a discovery are staggering. It would redefine our understanding of faith, spirituality, and the very nature of humanity. But like many scientific enigmas, the question of the worship gene is fraught with controversy. The existence of a single gene solely responsible for complex human behaviors like religious belief is met with skepticism by most mainstream scientists. They argue that our tendencies towards spirituality are more likely the result of a complex interplay of multiple genes and environmental factors. Critics of the worship gene theory point to the vast diversity of religious beliefs and practices across cultures and throughout history. If a single gene were responsible for our spiritual inclination, wouldn't we expect to see more uniformity in our beliefs? Despite the lack of scientific consensus, the idea of a worship gene continues to intrigue. It taps into our deepest fears and fascinations, blurring the lines between science and spirituality, and raising profound ethical questions about the nature of free will and the potential for manipulation. Throughout human history, religion has been a powerful force, shaping civilizations, inspiring both great acts of love and unspeakable atrocities. The belief in a higher power has provided comfort, guidance, and a sense of purpose for countless individuals. But what if this fundamental aspect of the human experience is nothing more than a genetic predisposition? A pre-programmed response designed to ensure our survival, or even more unsettling, to control us. This is the disturbing possibility explored by many conspiracy theories surrounding the worship gene. They paint a picture of a world where our spiritual impulses are exploited, manipulated by shadowy forces seeking to maintain power and control. The mere concept of a worship gene, whether real or imagined, opens up a Pandora's box of ethical dilemmas. If such a gene were to be discovered, who would control it? What would it mean for our understanding of free will and the sanctity of personal belief? Could governments or religious institutions exploit this knowledge to manipulate populations, suppress dissent, or enforce conformity? These questions, once relegated to the realm of science fiction, take on a chilling urgency when we consider the potential implications of the worship gene. And as we delve deeper into this unsettling topic, we must confront not only the scientific possibilities, but also the profound ethical and societal ramifications of unlocking the secrets of our spiritual DNA. Could the genesis of the worship gene be found not on Earth, but among the stars? This is the tantalizing proposition put forth by proponents of ancient astronaut theories. They argue that extraterrestrial beings visited our planet in the distant past, leaving behind indelible marks on our history, our mythology, and perhaps even our very DNA. Central to this theory is the idea that these ancient astronauts, possessing technology far beyond our own, were misidentified as gods by our primitive ancestors. Their advanced technology, their ability to manipulate the forces of nature, would have seemed nothing short of miraculous to the eyes of early humans. But what if these ancient visitors went beyond simply inspiring awe and reverence? What if they actively intervened in our evolutionary trajectory, embedding within us a genetic predisposition to worship, a built-in mechanism for control? One of the most well-known and controversial ancient astronaut theories centers around the Anunnaki, deities from ancient Mesopotamian mythology. According to proponents of this theory, the Anunnaki were not mythical beings, but rather flesh and blood extraterrestrials who visited Earth in search of resources. According to their interpretation of ancient Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki genetically engineered early humans, using their advanced technology to create a subservient workforce. These early humans, genetically manipulated to toil in the mines and fields, were also imbued with a deep-seated instinct to worship their creators. The worship gene, in this context, becomes a tool of control, a way to ensure the obedience and compliance of a genetically modified workforce. It is a chilling possibility, suggesting that our very capacity for spiritual belief might be rooted in a legacy of extraterrestrial manipulation. Proponents of the ancient astronaut theory point to a variety of archaeological and mythological anomalies as evidence for their claims. They cite ancient megalithic structures like Stonehenge and the pyramids of Giza, arguing that such feats of engineering would have been impossible for primitive cultures without extraterrestrial assistance. They interpret ancient myths and legends filled with tales of gods descending from the heavens as distorted accounts of real historical events, memories passed down through generations of encounters with advanced extraterrestrial beings. While mainstream archaeology and history tend to dismiss these interpretations as speculative and lacking in concrete evidence, the allure of the unknown, the possibility that we are not alone in the universe, continues to fuel these alternative narratives. Section 4. The missing link. The worship gene, in the context of ancient astronaut theories, represents a crucial link, a biological bridge between humanity and our supposed extraterrestrial progenitors. It suggests that our capacity for spirituality, our yearning for something greater than ourselves, is not a uniquely human trait, but rather a legacy of our cosmic heritage. This concept, while intriguing, raises more questions than it answers. If the worship gene was indeed engineered into our DNA by ancient aliens, what was their ultimate goal? Was it simply to ensure our obedience, or did they have a more profound purpose in mind? And what are the implications for our understanding of religion and spirituality if our very capacity for faith is revealed to be the product of extraterrestrial intervention? These are just some of the profound and unsettling questions raised by the theory of the worship gene and its connection to the ancient astronaut hypothesis. Section 1. The Puppet Masters. Let us shift our focus from the celestial to the terrestrial, from the ancient past to the shadowy corridors of power in the present day. In this modern era, where technology and ancient knowledge intertwine, the concept of control takes on new and more sinister forms. Some believe that the secrets of the worship gene are not lost to antiquity, but are in fact held tightly by those who rule us from the shadows. These shadowy rulers, often unseen and unknown, are thought to possess knowledge that could alter the very fabric of our society. They are the puppet masters, pulling the strings of our beliefs and actions. Governments, with their insatiable thirst for control, become the prime suspects in this conspiracy. The idea that those in power might manipulate the fundamental aspects of human nature to maintain their dominance is both terrifying and compelling. It suggests a world where our leaders are not just governing our actions, but are also shaping our thoughts and beliefs. Imagine a world where the very essence of your faith, your deepest spiritual convictions, are not your own, but are instead the product of subtle and insidious manipulation by unseen forces. These forces could be using advanced technology, psychological tactics, or even ancient knowledge to influence our spiritual lives. The implications of such control are profound, affecting not just individual lives but the very structure of society. This is the chilling scenario painted by those who believe that governments are exploiting the worship gene to maintain their grip on power. By tapping into this primal aspect of human nature, they can ensure loyalty and compliance from the masses. The worship gene, a theoretical construct, becomes a tool for control, a means to an end for those who seek to dominate. The very notion of a government controlling the spiritual impulses of its citizens seems like something out of a dystopian science fiction novel. Yet for some, this is not just a fictional scenario, but a real and present danger. The idea that our innermost beliefs could be engineered by those in power challenges the very concept of free will and individual autonomy. And yet the seeds of such a conspiracy theory are sown in the fertile ground of our deepest fears about the overreach of authority and the erosion of individual liberty. Throughout history, we have seen examples of governments and leaders who have sought to control not just the actions, but the thoughts and beliefs of their people. This fear is not unfounded, and it resonates deeply with those who value freedom and autonomy. From ancient rulers who claimed divine right to govern, to modern regimes that use propaganda and surveillance to maintain control, the desire to influence and direct the beliefs of the populace is a recurring theme. These historical examples provide a backdrop for the modern conspiracy theories that suggest a more sophisticated and insidious form of control. In today's world, the tools available for such manipulation are more advanced than ever. Surveillance technology, data analytics, and psychological manipulation techniques can be used to influence and control on a scale previously unimaginable. The potential for abuse of these technologies adds a new layer of fear to the idea of the puppet masters. However, awareness and resistance are also growing. People are increasingly questioning the motives and actions of those in power. The spread of information and the ability to connect and organize through technology provide a counterbalance to the potential for control. The struggle between control and freedom is ongoing, and the outcome is far from certain. In the face of these fears, there is also hope. The resilience of the human spirit and the desire for freedom and autonomy are powerful forces. Throughout history, individuals and groups have stood up against oppression and control, often at great personal risk. This spirit of resistance continues today, as people strive to maintain their autonomy and protect their beliefs from manipulation. As we look to the future, the balance between control and freedom will continue to be a central issue. The potential for manipulation and control will always exist, but so too will the desire for freedom and autonomy. The challenge will be to navigate this complex landscape, ensuring that the tools of control are not used to undermine the very essence of what it means to be human. The puppet masters may be a concept rooted in fear and suspicion, but it also serves as a reminder of the importance of vigilance and the need to protect our freedoms. As we navigate the complexities of the modern world, we must remain aware of the potential for control and strive to ensure that our beliefs and actions remain our own. The struggle between control and freedom is a defining aspect of the human experience, and it is one that will continue to shape our world for generations to come. Section 2, Whispers of Control. How could such a thing be possible? How could governments hope to manipulate something as personal and deeply ingrained as religious belief? The answer, according to conspiracy theorists, lies in the subtle and insidious ways in which information is disseminated and controlled in the digital age. The Internet, once hailed as a tool for democratization and the free flow of information, has become a double-edged sword. While it has empowered individuals with unprecedented access to knowledge, it has also created new avenues for propaganda, misinformation, and the manipulation of public opinion. Governments, with their vast resources and sophisticated surveillance technologies, are accused of exploiting these vulnerabilities, using social media algorithms, targeted advertising, and even the spread of disinformation to influence religious beliefs and behaviors. Section 3. Decoding the signals. Proponents of this conspiracy theory point to subtle cues, hidden messages embedded within popular culture, political rhetoric, and even religious sermons, as evidence of a coordinated effort to influence spiritual beliefs. They see the fingerprints of government manipulation in the rise of certain religious movements, the demonization of others, and the shifting tides of public opinion on matters of faith. The language used to discuss religion in the public sphere, the framing of religious issues in the media, the very narratives that shape our understanding of faith and spirituality, are all seen as potential vectors for government influence. Of course, proving such manipulation is incredibly difficult. The very nature of these alleged tactics is that they are designed to be subtle, subliminal, operating below the threshold of conscious awareness. Section 4. The mass manipulation. But why would governments go to such lengths to control the religious beliefs of their citizens? The answer, according to conspiracy theorists, lies in the immense power of faith. Religion has long been recognized as a potent force for social cohesion, but also for inciting conflict and controlling the masses. By subtly manipulating religious beliefs, governments could, in theory, quell dissent, promote conformity, and maintain social order. They could use religion as a tool to unite the populace against a common enemy, real or imagined, or to justify policies that might otherwise be met with resistance. This chilling scenario, while speculative, highlights the potential dangers of unchecked government power and the importance of safeguarding freedom of thought, belief, and expression. Section 5. Instruments of influence. The methods by which governments could theoretically manipulate the worship gene are as varied as they are insidious. Some believe that subliminal messaging, embedded in advertising, entertainment, and even religious broadcasts, could be used to subtly influence religious beliefs and behaviors. Others point to the potential for more direct interventions, such as the development of psychoactive drugs or genetic editing technologies that could enhance or suppress religious tendencies. The very idea of governments experimenting on their own citizens, manipulating their spiritual impulses for political gain, is a deeply unsettling thought. While concrete evidence of such programs remains elusive, the mere possibility of such manipulation raises serious ethical concerns about the limits of government power and the sanctity of individual autonomy. Section 6. Theology of Terror. One particularly disturbing aspect of this conspiracy theory is the idea that governments might exploit religious fervor to incite violence and justify conflict. By manipulating religious beliefs, governments could potentially create a climate of fear and intolerance, turning neighbor against neighbor and fueling the flames of religious extremism. Imagine, if you will, a world where terrorist attacks, acts of religious persecution, even wars are orchestrated or exacerbated by governments seeking to maintain control through the manipulation of faith. This chilling possibility highlights the dangerous intersection of religion and politics and the need for vigilance in safeguarding religious freedom and promoting tolerance and understanding. Section 7. Seeds of discord. The manipulation of the worship gene, if it were indeed possible, could have devastating consequences for social cohesion and interfaith dialogue, leading to widespread chaos. By sowing seeds of discord among different religious groups, governments could create a climate of fear, suspicion, and mistrust, making it easier to divide and conquer entire communities. Imagine a society where different religious communities view each other not as fellow citizens but as potential threats, manipulated by unseen forces to distrust and fear one another constantly. This chilling scenario underscores the importance of interfaith dialogue, understanding and respect in combating the forces of division and manipulation that threaten our unity. Section 8. Invisible chains. The conspiracy theory surrounding government manipulation of the worship gene speaks to a deep-seated fear of losing control, not only of our minds, but of our very souls. It taps into a primal anxiety about the erosion of individual liberty and the insidious ways in which power can be wielded in the modern world. The idea that our spiritual impulses, our deepest yearnings for meaning and connection, could be manipulated by unseen forces is a deeply unsettling thought. It challenges our fundamental understanding of free will and raises profound questions about the nature of belief in a world where even our thoughts and emotions may no longer be entirely our own. While concrete evidence of such manipulation remains elusive, the mere possibility of its existence serves as a stark reminder of the importance of critical thinking, the need to question authority, and the constant vigilance required to safeguard our freedoms in an increasingly complex and interconnected world. From the shadowy halls of government, we turn our gaze now to the hallowed halls of organized religion. What if the very institutions tasked with guiding our spiritual journeys, the keepers of ancient wisdom and sacred traditions, are not what they seem? The idea that religious institutions, those pillars of faith and moral guidance, might be harboring dark secrets is a bitter pill to swallow for many. And yet, the allure of conspiracy draws us deeper, asking us to consider the unthinkable. What if these institutions are not merely stewards of the worship gene, but its secret manipulators? Could it be that behind the rituals, the sermons, the outward displays of piety, lies a calculated effort to cultivate and control the very essence of our spiritual impulses? Conspiracy theorists who subscribe to this unsettling notion argue that religious institutions throughout history have acted as unwitting or, more sinisterly, willing guardians of the worship gene. They posit that the doctrines, the rituals, the very structure of organized religion are all carefully calibrated to exploit our innate predisposition towards faith. Imagine, if you will, ancient texts passed down through generations, not as divine revelations but as instruction manuals, guides to understanding and manipulating the human spiritual impulse. The worship gene in this context becomes the ultimate asset, a source of power and control wielded by those who claim to hold the keys to the kingdom of heaven. But why, one might ask, would religious institutions go to such lengths? What would they have to gain from manipulating the very faith they claim to uphold? The answer, according to this line of conspiratorial thinking, lies in the very nature of organized religion: power, influence and control over a devoted following. A congregation genetically predisposed to believe, to obey, to follow without question represents the ultimate prize. Imagine a world where the lines between faith and blind obedience blur, where the questioning of dogma is met not with reasoned debate, but with accusations of heresy. The worship gene in this scenario becomes a tool of oppression, used to silence dissent, enforce conformity, and maintain the status quo. The faithful in this context are not seekers of truth, but pawns in a grand game of control, their spiritual yearnings exploited to serve the agendas of those in power. Section 4. Tithes and Technologies. But maintaining such control, even on a genetic level, requires vast resources, advanced technology, and a network of influence that extends far beyond the confines of traditional religious institutions. This is where the conspiracy theory takes an even more unsettling and mysterious turn. Some believe that certain religious organizations, driven by a lust for power and influence, have forged unholy alliances with powerful entities in the secular world. Governments, corporations, even shadowy cabals operating in the darkest corners of global finance. These alliances, so the theory goes, provide the necessary funding, technology, and political cover to pursue their ultimate goal: the complete control of human spirituality. Section 5. The Devil's in the Details. Proponents of this conspiracy point to a number of seemingly disparate events and phenomena as evidence for their claims. They cite the vast wealth amassed by some religious institutions, the unexplained disappearance of individuals who dared to question dogma, the whispers of secret laboratories conducting experiments on the very nature of belief. The truth, they argue, is hidden in plain sight, obscured by layers of secrecy, misinformation, and the willful blindness of those who refuse to see the puppeteers behind the curtain. While these claims might seem outlandish, even fantastical, they tap into a deep-seated anxiety about the concentration of power, the abuse of faith, and the potential for manipulation in a world where the lines between the spiritual and the secular are increasingly blurred. Section 6. Whispers from the Pulpit. How then could such manipulation manifest in the real world? Some believe the answer lies in the subtle but pervasive power of language, symbolism, and ritual. They point to subtle shifts in religious doctrine, the introduction of new interpretations of ancient texts, the emphasis on obedience and submission as evidence of a concerted effort to shape the beliefs of the faithful. Imagine a sermon delivered with just the right inflection, a hymn sung with a haunting melody, a ritual performed with hypnotic precision, all designed to bypass conscious thought and tap directly into the primal instincts governed by the worship gene. The message in this context is not one of love, compassion, or spiritual enlightenment, but of control, obedience, and unquestioning devotion to the institution and its self-proclaimed intermediaries to the divine. Section 7. Decoding the Dogma. Conspiracy theorists dedicated to uncovering this alleged manipulation pore over religious texts, scrutinizing every word, every symbol, every ritual for hidden meanings and subliminal messages. They see conspiracies lurking in the shadows of ancient prophecies, coded warnings about the dangers of genetic manipulation, and veiled threats against those who would dare to expose the truth. The faithful, they argue, are being deliberately kept in a state of spiritual infancy, their understanding of their own faith carefully curated to serve the interests of those in power. The true nature of the divine, the real meaning of spirituality, is kept hidden, locked away behind layers of dogma and obfuscation, accessible only to the select few who claim to possess the keys to unlock its secrets. Section 8. The price of belief. But such control, even if maintained through subtle means, comes at a cost. The manipulation of the worship gene, if real, could have devastating consequences for the individual and for society as a whole. It could lead to a world where blind faith trumps critical thinking, where dogma stifles dissent, and where the pursuit of spiritual truth is replaced by unquestioning obedience to authority. Imagine a world where the very essence of what it means to be human, our capacity for free thought, our ability to question and explore, is eroded by the insidious manipulation of our spiritual impulses. This chilling scenario highlights the importance of safeguarding not only our physical freedom but also our intellectual and spiritual autonomy. Section 9. Cathedrals of Control. The conspiracy theories surrounding the manipulation of the worship gene by religious institutions, while unsettling, serves as a potent reminder of the importance of critical thinking, the need to question authority, and the dangers of blind faith. It reminds us that power, even when cloaked in the garb of piety, can be a corrupting force. It challenges us to examine the foundations of our own beliefs, to question the motives of those who claim to hold the keys to spiritual enlightenment, and to be wary of any institution or ideology that seeks to control not only our actions but also our thoughts and our very souls. The journey towards spiritual fulfillment, this theory suggests, is not one of blind faith but of courageous questioning, of seeking truth beyond the confines of dogma and the pronouncements of self-proclaimed authorities. It is a journey that requires us to be vigilant guardians not only of our physical freedom, but also of our intellectual and spiritual autonomy. Our journey into the heart of conspiracy now takes us from the halls of power, both secular and religious, to the sterile laboratories and boardrooms of a different kind of empire, Big Pharma. What if the key to controlling the worship gene lies not in amplifying faith, but in suppressing it? Imagine a world where the very essence of spiritual yearning, the innate human desire to connect with something greater than oneself, is systematically eradicated, not through brute force, but through the subtle and insidious power of pharmaceuticals. This is the chilling scenario envisioned by those who believe that Big Pharma is engaged in a covert war on faith, seeking to control the human spirit by chemically suppressing our capacity for belief. The very notion of a pill that could extinguish our spiritual impulses might seem like the stuff of science fiction. But for those who subscribe to this conspiracy theory, the possibility is all too real, a chilling testament to the hubris of science and the insatiable greed of corporations. But why, one might ask, would Big Pharma seek to undermine something as fundamental as religious belief? The answer, according to this line of conspiratorial thinking, lies in the immense profits to be made from a world devoid of spiritual grounding. A population stripped of its faith, it is argued, is a population ripe for exploitation, more likely to seek solace in consumerism, pharmaceuticals, and the empty promises of material wealth. Imagine a world where the existential questions that have haunted humanity for millennia are met not with spiritual guidance, but with prescriptions for antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications, and mood stabilizers. The sacred space of the soul, once the domain of priests and prophets, becomes just another market to be conquered by the relentless march of pharmaceutical innovation. The message is clear. Don't seek solace in faith, in community, in the pursuit of something greater than yourself. Instead, medicate your anxieties, numb your spiritual yearnings, and embrace a life of comfortable conformity. But how exactly could Big Pharma hope to achieve such a feat of social engineering? The answer, according to conspiracy theorists, lies in the subtle but powerful effects of psychotropic drugs, medications designed to alter mood, perception, and even, they argue, the very essence of our spiritual selves. Imagine a generation raised on a cocktail of antidepressants, antipsychotics, and mood stabilizers, their brains chemically conditioned to reject the very notion of the transcendent. The worship gene, in this scenario, is not eradicated but silenced, rendered dormant by a steady stream of pharmaceutical intervention. The result is a population that is, on the surface, content, compliant, and easily manipulated. But at what cost? What happens to our humanity when we lose our capacity for awe, for wonder, for the yearning to connect with something beyond the material world? Section 4. Erasing the Divine. The implications of this alleged conspiracy are far-reaching, striking at the very heart of what it means to be human. If our spiritual impulses can be chemically suppressed, what does that say about our free will, our ability to choose our own path? And what happens to our societies when the bonds of faith, of shared values and beliefs, are weakened or even severed? Imagine a world where the grand cathedrals and soaring temples of the past stand empty, relics of a bygone era when humanity still dared to dream of something beyond the material world. The pews are empty, the altars abandoned, the silence broken only by the echo of our own footsteps as we wander through these monuments to a lost faith. This is the dystopian vision of a world where the worship gene has been silenced, where the human spirit has been broken, and where the only solace to be found is in the cold comfort of conformity and consumption. Section 5. Silent Epidemic. Proponents of this conspiracy theory point to a number of alarming trends as evidence for their claims. They cite the rising rates of depression, anxiety, and suicide, particularly among young people, as proof that something is deeply amiss, that our souls are starving for nourishment in a world increasingly devoid of spiritual meaning. They see the pharmaceutical industry's aggressive marketing of psychotropic drugs, often for vague or ill-defined conditions, as a deliberate effort to create a market for their products, to normalize the chemical suppression of our spiritual impulses. The message is clear. If you're feeling lost, empty, disconnected, don't question the system, don't seek solace in faith or community. Just take this pill and your problems will disappear. Section 6. The cost of conformity. But what happens, these theorists ask, when an entire generation grows up believing that their spiritual yearnings are nothing more than chemical imbalances to be corrected with the latest pharmaceutical cocktail? What happens to our capacity for critical thinking, for dissent, for challenging the status quo when the very essence of our spiritual selves has been medicated into submission? Imagine a world where the fires of revolution, of social change, of spiritual awakening are extinguished before they can even ignite, quenched by a steady stream of mood stabilizers and anti-anxiety medications. This is the chilling vision of a world where the worship gene has been silenced, not through brute force, but through the subtle and insidious power of pharmaceutical control. Section 7. Manufacturing consent. The conspiracy theories surrounding Big Pharma's alleged war on faith speaks to a deep-seated anxiety about the increasing medicalization of human experience, the tendency to view every aspect of our lives, even our spiritual yearnings, through the lens of biology and chemistry. It is a fear that we are losing sight of what it means to be human, that we are becoming increasingly alienated from our own bodies, our own minds, and ultimately from our own souls. The message is clear. We are more than the sum of our chemical imbalances, and true spiritual fulfillment cannot be found at the bottom of a pill bottle. Section 8. The secular soul. The conspiracy theories surrounding Big Pharma's alleged suppression of the worship gene, while speculative and lacking in concrete evidence, serves as a potent reminder of the importance of safeguarding our spiritual autonomy, of questioning the motives of those who seek to profit from our pain, and of nurturing the sacred flame of our own inner wisdom. It is a call to resist the temptation to outsource our spiritual well-being to corporations or institutions, and to embrace the messy, challenging, and ultimately rewarding journey of seeking truth and meaning on our own terms. The human spirit, this theory reminds us, is not so easily extinguished. It yearns for connection, for meaning, for something greater than itself, and no amount of pharmaceutical suppression can completely eradicate that fundamental longing. Section 1. The Gene Hunters. We've traversed the shadowy landscapes of government control and the unsettling possibilities of religious manipulation. Now we delve into a realm where the very essence of faith becomes a commodity, a resource to be mined, traded, and exploited by those seeking power and influence. The elite. Imagine a world where your genetic predisposition towards faith, the very essence of your spiritual yearning, is catalogued, analysed, and ultimately exploited by unseen forces operating outside the bounds of conventional morality. This is the chilling prospect presented by conspiracy theories that posit the existence of elite groups obsessed with identifying and controlling individuals with a strong worship gene. These groups, so the theory goes, operate in the shadows, their motives as opaque as their methods, their influence reaching into the highest echelons of power and wealth. They are the gene hunters, driven by a thirst for control that transcends the material realm, seeking to shape the very destiny of human spirituality. Section 2. The Chosen Few. But why the obsession with the worship gene? What is it about this particular genetic trait that has captured the imagination and the fears of so many? To understand this, we need to delve deeper into the very nature of belief and the power it holds over human behavior. What makes those who possess it so valuable, so sought after by these shadowy elites? The answer lies in the profound influence that faith and belief can exert on individuals and, by extension, on entire societies. Those who possess the worship gene are thought to have an innate predisposition towards belief, making them more susceptible to the influence of charismatic leaders and ideologies. The answer, according to this line of conspiratorial thinking, lies in the unique power of faith. Individuals with a strong predisposition towards belief, it is argued, are more susceptible to manipulation, more likely to follow charismatic leaders, and more willing to sacrifice for a cause they believe in. They are, in essence, the perfect followers, the ideal subjects for a world order seeking to maintain control through the subtle manipulation of belief. Imagine a world where the very essence of your faith, your deepest spiritual convictions, are not your own but are instead the product of careful breeding, genetic manipulation, and psychological conditioning. This scenario is not just a dystopian fantasy, but a chilling possibility that some believe is already in the making. This is the chilling scenario envisioned by those who believe that the worship gene is the key to unlocking a new era of human control, where the masses are led not by force, but by the invisible hand of genetic destiny. The implications of such a reality are profound and far-reaching. It suggests a world where free will is an illusion, where our deepest beliefs and convictions are not the result of personal reflection and choice, but the outcome of a carefully orchestrated plan by those in power. This raises fundamental questions about the nature of faith, the essence of human identity, and the limits of scientific intervention in our lives. As we continue to explore the mysteries of the human genome, we must remain vigilant about the ethical implications of our discoveries and the potential for misuse by those who seek to control rather than liberate. The worship gene, whether real or imagined, serves as a powerful reminder of the need to safeguard our humanity in the face of advancing technology and the ever-present temptation to manipulate the very essence of what makes us human. Section 3. Whispers in the blood. But how do these elite groups identify those who possess this coveted genetic marker? The answer, according to conspiracy theorists, lies in a combination of advanced technology, sophisticated data analysis, and a network of influence that extends into the very fabric of our lives. Imagine a world where your every online interaction, every purchase, every medical record is scrutinized for clues to your genetic makeup, your susceptibility to belief carefully calculated and categorized. The worship gene, in this context, becomes a digital fingerprint, a marker that sets you apart, that singles you out from the masses. The implications are chilling. The very act of seeking information about your ancestry, of undergoing genetic testing for medical purposes, could inadvertently expose you to the scrutiny of these unseen forces, marking you as a potential asset or a threat to their grand designs. Section 4. A breed apart. Once identified, individuals with a strong worship gene become targets, subjects of interest to be monitored, manipulated, and ultimately controlled. Some conspiracy theorists believe that these individuals are recruited into secret societies, cults, or even government programs, their faith exploited for nefarious purposes. Imagine a world where your spiritual gifts, your capacity for empathy and compassion, are twisted and distorted, used to further the agendas of those who seek to control and exploit. The worship gene in this context becomes a curse, a mark that sets you apart not as chosen but as a tool to be used and discarded. The message is clear. Your faith, your beliefs, your very soul are not your own. They are commodities to be traded, manipulated, and ultimately controlled by those who claim to hold the keys to your genetic destiny. Section 5. The spiritual commodity. The conspiracy theory surrounding the elite's obsession with the worship gene speaks to a deep-seated anxiety about the commodification of everything, the relentless drive to quantify, categorize, and ultimately control every aspect of human experience. In a world where data is the new currency, even our spiritual impulses become valuable assets, ripe for exploitation. Imagine, if you will, a world where your genetic predisposition towards faith is bought and sold on the black market. Your spiritual potential traded like a stock option, your very soul subject to the whims of the highest bidder. The message is clear. In the eyes of the elite, your faith is not a sacred gift, but a resource to be mined, a commodity to be traded, and ultimately, a weapon to be wielded. Section 6. The Architects of Belief. But the conspiracy goes deeper still. Some theorists believe that these elite groups are not merely content with identifying and controlling individuals with a strong worship gene. They are, it is argued, actively seeking to engineer a new breed of human, one genetically predisposed to unquestioning obedience and unwavering faith. Imagine a world where the very building blocks of belief are manipulated in a laboratory, where the line between faith and genetic engineering blurs, and where the future of human spirituality rests in the hands of a select few. This is the unsettling vision of a world where the worship gene is not just a marker of our spiritual potential, but the blueprint for a new kind of human, one designed to serve. The implications are staggering. What happens to our understanding of free will, of the soul, of the very essence of what it means to be human in a world where our capacity for faith is predetermined, hardwired into our very DNA? Section 7. The Manufactured Messiah. The ultimate goal of this alleged genetic manipulation, according to some conspiracy theorists, is the creation of a new kind of religious leader, a manufactured Messiah, genetically engineered to inspire unwavering devotion and unquestioning obedience. This manufactured prophet would possess an uncanny ability to tap into the primal yearnings of the human heart, uniting the masses under a single, all-encompassing belief system. Imagine a world where the lines between faith and fanaticism blur, where the spiritual leader you revere is not a vessel of divine inspiration, but a product of careful genetic design, a puppet dancing to the tune of their creators. The message is clear. Your faith, your devotion, your very soul are all part of a grand, meticulously orchestrated plan, designed to lead you not towards enlightenment, but towards enslavement. Section 8. The Genetic Gauntlet. The conspiracy theory surrounding the elite's manipulation of the worship gene serves as a stark warning about the potential dangers of unchecked scientific ambition, the seductive allure of power, and the importance of safeguarding our spiritual autonomy in an age of unprecedented technological advancement. It challenges us to confront uncomfortable questions about the limits of scientific exploration, the ethics of genetic manipulation, and the very nature of faith in a world where even our spiritual impulses could be subject to manipulation. The message is clear. The quest to understand and control the worship gene is not a game to be played lightly. It is a genetic gauntlet, fraught with peril, where the stakes are nothing less than the future of human spirituality. Section 1. The Global Game. Our journey through the labyrinth of conspiracy now leads us to the highest echelons of power, where shadowy organizations and globalist agendas converge on a single chilling objective: the genetic manipulation of religious belief on a global scale. These clandestine groups, often shrouded in mystery and operating behind closed doors, are believed to be orchestrating a plan so audacious it defies the imagination. They are not merely content with controlling economies or political systems. Their ambitions stretch far beyond the tangible. into the very fabric of human spirituality. This is the terrifying prospect envisioned by those who believe that the worship gene is not merely a scientific curiosity, but the ultimate prize in a high-stakes game of global domination. The worship gene, a theoretical construct that suggests a genetic predisposition to religious belief, has become the focal point of a conspiracy that seeks to control the hearts and minds of every individual on the planet. Imagine the power to influence not just what people think, but what they believe at the most fundamental level. This is the kind of control that these shadowy figures are purportedly seeking. Imagine a world where the very essence of faith, the spiritual tapestry that has defined cultures and civilizations for millennia, is systematically unraveled and rewoven according to the designs of a select few. The rich diversity of religious expression, the myriad ways in which humanity has sought to understand the divine, could be reduced to a single homogenized belief system dictated by those in power. This is not just a loss of cultural heritage, but a profound alteration of the human experience itself. The implications are staggering, touching every aspect of life from personal identity to societal structure. This is the chilling scenario painted by those who believe that the worship gene has become the target of a globalist agenda, a tool to be wielded in the pursuit of a new world order. The idea is that by manipulating this gene, these powerful entities can create a population that is more compliant, more easily controlled, and less likely to resist their overarching plans. The worship gene in this context is not just a scientific curiosity, but a key to unlocking unprecedented levels of social engineering. The potential for abuse is immense, and the ethical considerations are equally daunting. The message is clear. Your faith, your beliefs, your very connection to the divine are all pawns in a grand game of global chess, where the victors claim dominion not just over land and resources, but over the very souls of humankind. This is a game where the stakes are nothing less than the future of human spirituality. The idea that a small group of individuals could hold such power is both terrifying and fascinating. It raises questions about the nature of free will, the sanctity of personal belief, and the lengths to which some will go to achieve their goals. As we delve deeper into this conspiracy, we must ask ourselves, what is the true cost of such control, and are we willing to pay it? Consider the rich tapestry of religious practices that exist today. From the chanting monks in Tibetan monasteries to the vibrant festivals of Hinduism, from the solemn prayers in Christian cathedrals to the rhythmic dances of African tribal religions, each practice is a unique expression of humanity's quest for meaning. These practices are not just rituals, they are the lifeblood of communities, the foundation of moral and ethical systems, and the source of comfort and hope for billions of people. The idea that all of this could be manipulated or controlled by a select few is a chilling thought. The scientific community is already grappling with the ethical implications of genetic research. The potential to cure diseases and improve human health is immense, but so are the risks. The idea of a worship gene adds another layer of complexity to this debate. If such a gene exists, and if it can be manipulated, who gets to decide how it is used? What safeguards can be put in place to prevent abuse? These are questions that scientists, ethicists, and policymakers must grapple with as we move forward into an uncertain future. Meanwhile, in the corridors of power, discussions about the worship gene and its potential uses are likely taking place behind closed doors. Political leaders, corporate executives, and influential figures from various sectors may be weighing the pros and cons, considering how this knowledge could be used to further their own agendas. The secrecy surrounding these discussions only adds to the sense of unease. What are they planning, and how will it affect the rest of us? As we continue to explore this conspiracy, it is important to remain vigilant and question everything. The truth may be elusive, but it is worth seeking. By shining a light on these dark corners, we can begin to understand the forces at play and take steps to protect our spiritual and cultural heritage. The global game is complex and multifaceted, but with awareness and action, we can ensure that the future of human spirituality remains in the hands of the many, not the few. Section 2. Engineering Compliance. The motivations behind this alleged globalist agenda are as varied as they are insidious. Some believe that the goal is to create a more compliant, easily controlled populace, stripped of the spiritual convictions that might inspire dissent or rebellion. Others envision a world where religious conflict is eradicated not through dialogue and understanding, but through the forced homogenization of belief. Imagine a world where the rich tapestry of human spirituality, the countless expressions of faith that have enriched our world for centuries, is reduced to a bland, uniform monoculture, carefully engineered to serve the interests of the powerful. This is the dystopian vision of a world where the worship gene is not celebrated for its diversity, but feared for its potential to disrupt the carefully calibrated order of a globalized, secular society. Section 3. The Secular Savior. Central to this conspiracy theory is the belief that the globalist elite, in their quest for a secular, unified world order, seek to elevate themselves to the status of gods. By controlling the very essence of faith, they aim to become the objects of our adoration, the architects of a new synthetic spirituality designed to keep the masses in thrall. Imagine a world where the ancient yearning for the divine is not extinguished, but redirected, focused not on a transcendent deity, but on the very mortals who claim to hold the keys to our genetic destiny. This is the chilling prospect of a world where the worship gene is not eradicated, but hijacked, twisted to serve the ambitions of those who seek to replace the gods of old with a new pantheon of the powerful and the technologically advanced.